Thanks for joining everyone who might be online. We were just waiting for folks to make it through the cold to us. So we're going to jump right in here. So I sent an email out today going over what I'd like to cover. Does anybody have anything that they would like to talk about tonight that wasn't in that email or on the agenda? You don't have to jump now.
Well, I would like to make some comments about one of the items on the email, so I'll wait for that.
Sounds good. All right, so
I didn't get the email.
I didn't get the agenda as far as I know, but
No, yeah, I didn't get an agenda.
you didn't get
for
agenda either?
Not for this, no.
the Gmail is what you prefer? Huh. So I sent it this afternoon around
Let me check my spam.
1:56.
Oh, well, I
And the
don't
agenda's all the
see
way at the
the
bottom.
attachment, where is it?
No.
Oh, you mean that?
You have to read the email to get the agenda.
Well, I did sort of, but I was doing it on my phone.
No,
so-
no, it's fine. We're gonna go over everything, so no worries. But, so we're just I wanna revisit our charge from council that was in like our founding document that was approved by council, which had 5 bullet points, and just make sure we all feel like we are on track to accomplish or nearly accomplish those items. So the first one was review the department structure, staffing, and service delivery. The second was analyze options for maintaining an independent police department or exploring shared service models with other municipalities, considering legal, operational, and financial impacts. Engage stakeholders, including officers, staff, council members, and residents to ensure transparency and build community trust. The fourth was conduct a financial and operational review of the current police budget, staff and costs, and long-term sustainability under various service models. And then the fifth was provide a written recommendation to Borough Council outlining findings, rationale, and a recommended path forward, including an implementation roadmap. So it was a heavy lift, big ask here. I have a feeling that we're a little stuck at the moment, though, in moving towards the last items, specifically around, I know, Ronnie, you've brought this up. We've definitely done a financial and operational review, but in terms of long-term projections and long-term sustainability, we haven't considered anything but if we were kind of to keep going as we are. And a lot of the projections are guessworks even at the maintaining as we are. So that's one piece that I feel maybe we could have some conversation about tonight, how we might consider the financial realities of different models. We've started to engage stakeholders, so there have been conversations with Chief Golden, obviously with council members. We've sent out the resident survey, which we'll discuss tonight. We had, I think, a good initial response to that. Yeah, so I'll just open it up. What do folks feel they need, given this review of those 5 charges from council that we haven't gotten yet, and where might we get what we need?
I'm happy to comment. And I say this with a lot of humility about the process, because I'm not as familiar with borough government as probably any of you. But I feel like we haven't made a lot of progress on the most important thing that was kind of evident at the very beginning, which is a direct evaluation of the options for working with or not working with Lower Makefield or other local departments. And I feel like, and I appreciate the work that went into putting together the questions with this surprise request to submit written questions rather than have a conversation. I mean, who knew? But I feel like we should be both gaining information and making a pitch. In other words, it feels to me like the obvious situation is that we have a fairly small geographic area to cover. And that if we just had some idea what the Lower Makefield cost per household or cost per resident was for doing their policing, we could compare it to ours, and we could figure out if there's some kind of some kind of synergy to be had, because we should be easier than a lot of the areas that they're covering now. So I feel like there's a little bit of a pitch we could make at the same time as we're gathering information. At the end of the day, the decision is ours. But,
Yeah, I mean, we had originally thought that we'd have an hour conversation to kind of work through these things. So I was a little bit thrown off when they asked to submit it in written format. So I've struggled to kind of like, I mean, what does that path look like, right, in a written thing? So I went very high level. I sent, kind of the approach. So what I'm hoping, what I was afraid to do was to send it out, because now we're starting to write stuff down. They're obviously wanting us to write stuff down. So I was not comfortable sending it without talking about it here. Do we need to give it to council and have them approve sending it at this point? But given that the direction that it went, I'm going to assume the other ones are going to go in the same direction when we approach them as well. So, it's kind of like we were going to have a conversation, and now it's like, all right, give us an RFP, right? What else are you going to say from a standpoint of an interaction on paper? And I'm willing to do that. I just didn't feel comfortable sending questions without bringing it back here to make sure that everyone was in agreement that we were going to send it to them. As far as the state police go, I do have a contact now. We've been playing phone tag for a little bit. I think he doesn't have voicemail, so I think my new approach will be I'm going to respond and give him like 5 times, just set aside and talk to him. I don't think that conversation is going to be too long. I mean, I have a good handle on what I want to talk to him about. It's the Lower Makefield thing that I wanted to discuss tonight as far as sending them questions.
did they tell you who the written request was for?
I didn't talk to him. Chris talked to the chief, Chief Kelly, and Chief Kelly asked that they be put in writing. I don't know if that was at someone's direction or his own. I don't know the answer to that. But regardless, I mean, it's what they want, regardless of where it came from.
So just a thought here is that maybe a way to go about this is to put like an RFP together on our end that puts down quantifies exactly like the kinds of options we give them. So let's say there's 3 options. I'm just throwing it out there. One being full, one being partial, and one being mixture of services that we would be able to kind of consolidate capital costs and ongoing costs, right? And then we quantify that not just for Lower Makefield, but for anyone, and we just send it out to all of them, and they can bid on it, and then we, you know what I mean? Because otherwise, I'm worried we're going to have like an apples and oranges kind of situation.
Yeah, I mean, we could do an RFP, but putting an RFP for this together is not going to be a small task.
Right.
And then, we're going to put the RFP together and send it to them, and they'll be like, oh, we're not interested. Right? I'd rather first get that out of the way at a higher level, right? Here's what we're thinking about. Here are some basic questions that we have, and go from there. If they're not interested, right, then, that's that.
Well, maybe like a mini RFP. In other words, we put okay, these are we have to get some numbers internally, because I'd like to know how many hours a month do we spend in traffic patrol? What are the sort of main I would look for actual quantifiable numbers, right, that we currently do. And then we say, okay, here's what we currently do. This is the response time. This is the traffic patrol. This is XYZ. What would it cost you to provide these services to us? Okay, and then we look at sort of a reduced model. If we we could decide as a group if we want to give them, if we want to put a scenario where we would accept reduced service. I don't know that we would, but we could decide if we want that. That could be another category. And then the hybrid. But I think if we had just.
Did you see the
Not to-
questions that I put together?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But outbound quantified figures so that when they come back to us, they could say, yeah, we could do that ballpark. This is what the cost would be. Because that's to me what's missing is like we have all the questions, but we don't have a quantity. If I was them, I'd have a hard time answering it.
I think we could put in some more data about what we're looking for, but I like the question approach. I think an RFP formalizes this into, and it shows intent, formal intent, where I don't believe there is formal intent at this point. And I think from a lot of municipalities, to be frank, we're going to get a no back. Like, if we say, here's a ballpark of what we want to spend, the ballpark of this, we want the same service levels we're getting now, I think it's going to be a no in a lot of cases. So, but that's just my thought. Like, I like the informal question format much more than an RFP.
Yeah, and I think Chief Kelly has a really good handle on all those things that you're talking about, which is kind of why we decided to start with Lower Makefield, because Chief Kelly was there. So when I say we want the same coverage, I'm pretty sure in his mind, he knows what that's going to take. So
I have no problem sending the questions to other municipalities as well. I mean, I think there's been concerns that we're, working off of a pre-developed relationship, obviously, that we have with Chief Kelly. So I'm okay if we are happy with the questions, we send them to, I know, you have a contact at Middletown, and a few other municipalities who have said this something, or have shown some level of interest. I think that makes sense to me, but obviously we can start with Lower Makefield, that's fine.
It's
Rami,
it's logical to send it to other places. I don't think, this is not a generic thing where all of them are equal. It's not like we're bidding for someone to spread salt. And so I do think it'll be different answers from different stakeholders because they're in different positions. The one thing I would do that I don't think was clear to me from reading your well-drafted set of questions is I would ask them if they had ideas for what they would provide to us. Because Chief Kelly, or any of them actually, may have expertise that this committee would benefit from about what they might be able to offer us. So I would ask them if they have anything to suggest, rather than just being really prescriptive. That's the thing I don't like about an RFP, is it sounds very prescriptive, like it's super clear to us right now exactly what we want, even if it were 3 different scenarios of it. There's probably more than 3 scenarios.
And you mean just like when you say, that's kind of like an open-ended question, is that like the 4th option, something you would suggest? Is that what you're getting at?
Is
Yeah.
there another collaborative relationship that you might suggest that would be mutually beneficial for Lower Makefield, in the case of Lower Makefield, or Middletown, in the case of Middletown, or whoever, and Yardley Borough? And give them some opportunity to share in the brainstorming over something that's mutually beneficial.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. Yep.
I mean, I think the idea of sending it to multiple is a good idea, because what do we lose? We just learn more from there. There may be scenarios we haven't considered. The other thing that I want to caution us about, and this is kind of why I'd like to see quantifiable numbers, or, actual, in some, I mean, I understand the conversation needs to happen on some level, but there's kind of like a shrinkflation thing that can happen here, where like we have what we think is the same thing, but we don't have, officers driving around within the 1 square mile borough. They're, 5 miles away or something. That's something that would be a tangible difference when you call for service, but it would look like we have coverage, just as an example. So I think it's important, if we just ask the questions, it's fine, but the response we get needs to be, we need to know what we're getting. And I think that whether we do it now or later, at some point, we've got to put what they're offering us line by line against what we have, so we know what we're getting at what price. Otherwise, we just know what price we're
No,
getting.
no, not only.
No, I think you're,
You were on this, right?
yeah, I think you're correct, but, you know, that level of detail, like, first they may say, we're not interested. Second, they may say, we're interested, and here's what it looks like, right? And at some point, if we find that general response acceptable, right, then we'll need to dig into the details, because there's going to have to be some type of contract or agreement between the municipalities. So I think you're getting too detailed before you have even had an introductory conversation, which was what our Zoom meetings were supposed to be. And now they're going to be a written introductory thing where I don't expect him to go, here's the contract that we would give you. I would expect him to respond to the questions as best he can, right? Because on his side, right, he's also not responding, you know, he probably has an idea of what it takes to cover the borough. I mean, he knows what it takes to cover his communities and his different areas. So I wouldn't think it would be a big leap for him to kind of give us an idea of, you know, the type of costs that we would be looking at in this scenario. And in addition, he may have some other ideas that he may address in some of the questions or this additional question that we're going to add.
Okay, so I have two more items to just add to these, or add, possibly modify with these questions. One is that we should ask the duration of what kind of contract duration that.
Again, I think that's after we get past the, are you interested and what does it look like?
Yeah, the reason I would throw something in here about that is only because it's a big deal if they say, well, we'd probably be able to do like 3 years, but if, that way it's like, that's it, like, or if, we could give you like a 5-year, 10-year, like, it would be nice to know, even just to ask them open-ended, what length of time could you give us a guaranteed rate for, do you think,
Whose remit do you think that is within? Because I doubt that's within Chief Kelly's remit.
Correct. I mean, to me, that's a contract negotiation, right? We have a general idea of what we want to do, and now let's dig into the details of what that looks like to everyone's satisfaction. 3 years, 5 years, half coverage, full coverage, all these types of things. There are going to be a lot of issues behind each one of those different scenarios, including the length of the contract.
I mean, I'm saying if he says like, if they say, there's no way we could ever give you more than 3 years because X, Y, Z, which is understandable, right? If they say that, then we just take that, we know, okay, that's one thing we learned here that is, we really have to consider, right? Because now we have no idea what the future holds beyond that period. So I would want to get a sense from them, just what time frame would they be looking at for this kind of arrangement? And anyway, the second thing is that where it says 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., I understand why that was done as a 12-hour shift. In our conversations previously with Yardley PD, I think we learned that the slowest hours were, I think there was an 8-hour. Caroline, you might know what it was. Was it like midnight to 8 or 10 to 6 or
3
something?
to 9 or something. It was after midnight.
Yeah,
2
so
to-
there's an 8-hour slot in there where business is slow for Yardley PD. We might want to look and see if it's possible to align the partial coverage with that slot.
But those are also the hours that I feel like we've had recently. The bigger crimes, like they might be slower, but the bigger crimes are happening in those hours,
Good
like
point.
burglary and theft and. But yes, I agree. Like, and I'm not taking the public opinion poll that we sent out as representative, but there was definitely a much stronger public consensus around assistance from a neighboring municipality versus full outsource. So I think that we need some help, and perhaps that's like a help in our staffing model or for special events or something. So that should definitely, I feel like, be elevated in the conversations as like, I feel like there is support among the committee and council and the public for that versus full outsource, so.
Excuse me, Madam President.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Ah,
Whoops,
retired.
sorry, retired, emeritus. Mayor, I have a quick question, and I saw Paul has a question from the
Yeah,
audience.
okay, we're gonna, we'll discuss here and then, because last time we got off topic a little bit, yeah.
So I heard everything that's being said, and I also understand that there is a necessary, length of time that would be necessary to create this, put it out, and get a response. So I guess I have two questions. One is are we going to send this concurrently to multiple municipalities, or, because I couldn't quite understand from the way it was presented, if that was the case, or wait till someone responded, which I think would not be a good idea. I think we should send it out at the same time,
The
right?
more specific we make it, the longer we will wait for a response.
Exactly.
And I think, again, I don't know that we need to, I don't know if others agree, I don't know that we need to make it super formal like an RFP.
No.
If we update the questions so that we're
So
all
to-
happy with
so
them,
to
it could
answer
go
my
out
question
soon.
about can we send it all
Yeah.
at the same time? And then if there's a follow-up, well, first of all, as I think you pointed out, that there may be a number of municipalities that off the bat we're just going to say not interested, and maybe that's good information too. Certainly that would inform us of, if this is plausible or not. But more importantly, how do we get to the point where we can make a recommendation to council in a timely fashion so that we can, move this along?
First, I don't want to assume, but Dan has lost his committee partner. Would you like some assistance in this task, specifically if we're going to open scope to reach out to multiples?
I mean, it couldn't hurt. When Chris and I talked about this, our approach the last time was that we would have a conversation with Chief Kelly, and that would spur some details and, a flowing discussion that we could take notes and report back to, and we'd use that as a launching pad to then go to the other municipalities that we had previously identified.
I mean, you might honestly find that if we're doing kind of trying to have a research conversation, you might find that another municipality might be more open to doing that informally, just because I think in both municipalities, given the press over this topic, have to protect themselves, and I think that's probably why it took that turn.
Yeah, I understand. I'm not being critical. It just did not see that coming. But anyway, I could certainly have Chris because Chris has all the contacts. So I'm sure he would be happy to get me to the right people. And if we're asking all the same questions, there's probably not a lot more work to.
That's what I was going to
send it.
say, that you're probably not going to deviate. The questions should remain the same as a baseline for this, just like the questions you sent out to the residents.
I do have another question that I think we might want to, or a modification here that we may want to consider in sending this out, which is that where it said with Lower Makefield or other municipality, retain our current police staffing, how would they deal with the situation of us using civil service and them using, what's the other one called? Auxiliary? No, no, is it like ACT? I forgot the name of it, but they use another pension system. And our people are not compatible with their pension on the other pension system. So
Conversation, probably.
well, that's what I'm saying, is that how would they deal with that situation? Would they take them, because would their pensions restart at zero, or would they take them at their present rank? Like how would, what would happen? Because that is, I understand, again, to strike a balance, not to get too deep in those conversations, but that's a consideration I'd like to know, because, we've got people here who've put in years, and what would happen,
Well, are they not already vested in the current pension?
Yeah, but if they would start at zero. If they got rehired and it's a different system, they would start at zero.
Without keeping the current one?
Well, that's That's my
If
understanding.
if they're fully vested, they probably keep the current one, and then they start earning a new one.
I don't think we can expect another municipality to look into legal questions that we need to look into ourselves. Like, that's a question, if we are considering this as a municipality, we need to ask our police labor solicitor that question, right? Like, that's not something we need to ask Lower Makefield.
It's also,
Would they hire them at the same?
I think it's a little bit of a cart before the horse. Sort of like Dan was saying, I think, if there isn't any structure that can even work, then there's no problem to be solved. And we haven't even gotten the first step done yet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just that the question, would they retain our current police staff? And what I'm saying is that question is more like, how would they do that if they
I think
would, and how would they retain them?
It's going to have to be answered. So in principle, I completely agree with the issue,
Right.
but
Not at this point.
yeah, I think it's just,
I think a sweet spot would be getting to 10, like, no more than 10 questions. So,
the language
if
is
we
a
wanna get a
little,
response.
I thought the language was a little bit odd too, because when you say staffing, it makes it sound like
All staff?
having 2 people on duty at any given shift kind of question is a staffing level as opposed to staff or employees.
No, so that question is, yeah, the question is incorrect. It's our officers is the question. Would Lower Makefield retain our current police officers, not staffing?
Yeah, would a model be available that retained current officers as
Yeah.
part of a future
Yeah.
structure? I mean, you know what you're getting at, it's just forcing you to write.
No, that's fine. I'll make that change.
Do we know if anybody close by here has done this before to know whether they would even consider it? Because if they've not done it before, they're gonna be like, I don't know, it just all depends, and it's just gonna be a lot of, yes, I can agree, but I don't know how many years, because it's just gonna be a let's wait and see, and we're just gonna try it, and I don't know, I'm just saying.
yes, there are municipalities that have done this in the area with mixed results. I would recommend going back and watching the previous meetings. I think we discussed it at our second one, if I don't recall, for history on that. But I don't think any of the ones we're reaching out to have done it before.
And actually, to Uri's earlier point, I think, Dan, some of our prior meetings, we talked about not all issues related to service levels, but we talked about number of calls per year and intensity calls per resident, and some of that was in prior slides. So if you wanted to put a few numbers in, they're there already.
Yeah, I think that would be a good preamble here. Mr. Mansell, sorry, I made you wait. Can you just, if you still have your question, come up, just so folks at home can hear it? This is going to be a good one, I can tell.
Sorry if I'm being ignorant to this, because I'm kind of new, just getting caught up and paying attention a little bit. Number one, do we still have a contact with Chief Kelly? Like, do we have a good relationship with him? Like, since he was already here and part of the borough police, why can't we just casually ask, you saw the faults that we had within Yardley, what is a proposal that you would make to make this work? And actually just come to the table as just kind of a working relationship?
I think that there are personal relationships that are good. I think the issue becomes that there have been things said about Chief Kelly at this meeting that have been very derogatory, as well as accusations made by the press that we have made plans that we haven't made. And he has not told me this, I have not spoken to him about this, but I think that this being formal, like I want it written down, is probably to protect both parties.
Yeah.
And that's why it's gotten
We
this
actually
way.
did take that was our initial approach was going to be, and we had actually scheduled a meeting to do just what you're suggesting, which is to sit down and talk through tons of questions and issues that we had previously discussed. And then the ask was to change that meeting to these written questions. So we did start out with that intent. And we still may end up at that place in the end, right? They're just asking that we send our initial round of questions in writing, which is what we're hopefully going to do moving
A
forward.
reasonable question. It seems to me like Well, it's not obvious that Chief Kelly is operating in a vacuum in Lower Makefield.
Yeah, like, I mean, he knows what's going on, and he knows that this is happening and these meetings are happening, so and he was part of this police force, so he should know a lot more than anybody even sitting here, right? So, to me, it just seems logical to try to go directly to the person and say, hey, like,
We did.
oh, and this is the pushback.
Table now because he's requested
The,
this. in
the formal questions,
Mm-hmm.
understood.
Maybe other people in Lower Makefield administration who want to see all those things.
Yeah, of course. And then my other question was, if we were going to be using Lower Makefield or another municipality for, policing and that sort of thing, do we keep record of when we have the busiest call times? Like, when are we at capacity? And okay, cool,
Yes.
all good. That's it. Cool.
All right. So I think next.
I can send the questions.
So I will ask during our next council meeting. I mean, we were given authority to informally make communications with other municipalities, but I'll just make sure that council gives us consensus this evening before we move forward. Do you feel like you have the feedback you need to
Yes.
make the changes? Excellent. All right, so moving on.
I'll just ask what his turnaround might be to complete this, or at least get it sent out.
Yeah, I mean, if they get permission, I can send the Lower Makefield questions out this week. But I'm going to have Chris reach out to the other municipalities to find out who we're going to send them to.
Okay, but it's not going to change, but you need to find the contacts.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And the question I would be basically the same. I would just take Lower Makefield and replace.
Correct, yeah, makes sense to me.
Would they be, I would assume you'd get a written response to this? We're doing this.
One would assume we would get a.
That would be, if we're going to do it that way, we should do it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or maybe not. Maybe they'll look at the questions and say, oh, we can talk about these, and they'll set up a meeting. I don't know. I don't know the answer.
Before we move on, is there an answer to getting Dan more help? Because it feels to me like the single most important thing this whole committee is doing right now is what Dan's doing by himself.
So thank you for bringing that back up. Would anybody from the committee like to join Dan on this subcommittee?
What are the requirements, please, Dan?
The requirement, well,
You know what I mean.
yeah.
So we're broken, well, I can just share, we're broken into 5 subcommittees as a larger committee. It's community engagement, shared services assessment, which is Dan, current police department evaluation, which is Kim, financial review, which is Rami and Paula, and then benchmarking and municipal case studies, which is Ori and Rich, and we all have just been working on data gathering.
I mean, just put me all with him. That's
Okay.
fine. Is it?
That's fine. Yeah, yeah.
Sounds good.
Would you like the contact, the person I spoke to from Middletown? Is that,
Please.
you want me to make an introduction kind of thing? And
Yeah,
then
that'd be awesome.
Okay, great,
All right, next
If
one.
you do that, I can send the Middletown one
Right.
right after.
exactly.
Perfect. So I also had on the agenda to get a staffing model, current PD assessment update from Kim. I know she has been trying to meet with the police department. I'll offer my services to help her with that along, and then hopefully we can do a presentation at our next meeting on that. So I sent you all, and I'm sorry if you had access issues, so the documents are just linked to the OneDrive, the shared drive. So if you're not on a Yardley Borough email address, it's probably whatever device you first accessed it from will have access. But if you have any issues, just let me know, and I will work through them with you. So I just tried to provide a narrative summary of the response to our survey. We received over 130 responses so far. That's household responses. 45% have lived in Yardley for more than 20 years, 22% 11 to 20 years, 33% have lived in Yardley for 10 years or less. Importance of local independent police department, 63% very important, 18% somewhat important, 13% not important, 5% unsure or neutral. So I think that supports what I believe we were expecting to see here. Everyone feels very safe or mostly safe. The 5, we had a long laundry list of things that people could rank order. The 5 things most important to our residents are, or the residents who responded, fast emergency response, visible patrol presence, community policing and relationship building, follow-up and communication after incidents, and maintaining local control over police decisions. So the themes that I picked out, I read through all of the responses, are people want to maintain local control and accountability. They feel like our police have their own local identity, they're very visible, and then they're also accountable to us because they work for our police chief here. Openness to a hybrid or limited shared model, though. So shared administrative or back office functions, shared backup or specialty support in those off hours of our staffing model, limited off-peak collaboration with neighboring departments. Response time and visibility are seen as non-negotiable. So that was time and time again, the free-form written responses were, the response times need to be the same as they are now in any scenario. Everybody wants transparency. They want to see the results of this survey. They want to see our report. They want to see the data. What's this going to cost versus that, which I think we can all understand. And then an interest to see peer community case studies, which Councilperson Shara brought up. Who has done this before and what were the results? So I feel like the action items from this that maybe we have not been fully exploring yet would be administrative sharing rather than patrol consolidation or sharing. Hybrid or phased approaches instead of any permanent structural changes, which I mentioned during our discussion of the questions. Use of case studies from similar sized communities. I think we've, committee person Wayne did a really good job at summarizing things that have happened in Pennsylvania, but perhaps we want to look more broadly than Pennsylvania at case studies outside of the state that might be helpful to us in our situation. And then just ensuring the borough retains local oversight in any scenario that we enter into. Any questions or comments on that?
One comment and one question. The comment is, I looked at this afternoon. I just want to say what how good I feel about this initial response and your questions and the responses that were received in all sincerity. It just goes to show you that we kind of, understand what this community finds important. The question I have is, at the approximately 130 responses, are we going to put out the questionnaire again for those that did not respond?
Yeah, I think it depends what we want out of the survey, and this has always been the question. So I think it has spurred ideas and motivations for me, like, oh, I don't know if the public really wanted us to look into that, but kind of reinforcing some of the things we already had planned to do. I can certainly go door to door. I'm happy to do that. Happy to send it out again, but I don't know that would change anything.
But if the data points that we get or the raw data we get just goes further to confirm, or maybe it shows a difference once we analyze the raw data, I can't imagine that's a problem. Plus, sending out electronically
We can
can't
certainly
be that
test
hard.
it, yeah.
I certainly wasn't thinking of sending you out to knock on doors, but I don't mind volunteering, don't worry.
Yeah,
Martha
well,
would go.
speaking of door knocking, those responses are actually quite consistent with what I found, because we were going door knocking, Martha was there too, and around some of this issue was coming up in the door to door. So naturally, that's the question people had. And I was interested in the number of times people mentioned their own scenarios. Like I have my story, a lot of us have our stories of having to call the Yardley PD and how fast they got there. So I'm not surprised, but I just wanted to mention that it's consistent. You don't know sometimes you get a survey and it's totally different online. Real
Oh,
life.
absolutely.
This one
But
seems to match.
what I would say, just to finish up my comment, is that, if we send it out again, and then each of the people on, I guess council people were the borough itself, put something out on our social media to say, hey, you may have missed it.
Yep.
Please look for it. Your input is extremely important. That's all I wanted to say.
Well, so if I could just ask, a couple of clarifying questions. How many households are in the borough?
Well, about 1,100.
So we have, like a 8 or 9% response rate here. So absolutely no percentages or proportions can be extrapolated from this non-random sampling to the overall views of the township. That does not say we can't learn things. I think
Right.
Qualitative, feedback is very valuable. The other thing is that if we're going to do a second round, do we have a mechanism? Say, I don't know if this was anonymous or if it was.
Anonymous.
Well,
But I took street names.
So you have no, well, I don't, you have to have some mechanism for knowing whether you're getting the same people responding or whether it's a,
Oh, I see what you're saying. Thank you for, so I didn't realize that, but thank you for bringing that up. So do we have a way, so we wouldn't have a way if it's anonymous to determine who we had responded?
No, because you can do anonymous with email and you can make them put their email in and make it anonymous, but I felt like if I turned that on, people
Understood.
would be not as truthful because they would be worried we were tracking that.
All right, well,
But yeah, you're right. If
Thank
somebody
you.
wanted to, they could complete it
I mean,
20 times.
they could have done that already,
Right.
right? So maybe just put wording when you resend it out that, hey, if you did not respond already, here's an opportunity.
You would know. It was kind of a long survey, so you didn't-
may I ask the manager, do you know if our system recognizes, even though it's anonymous, whether a respondent sent it from a particular, I was going to say email address, but I guess IP address? No? Okay,
It's a Google form, right?
It's Microsoft.
okay. Well, thank you.
All right. The other thing I had was we just had a really great conversation, Kim and I, with Chief Golden about administrative staffing considerations on Friday, I think it was. So like light duty tasks in our police force. So you can all read the document I sent out, but the main administrative workloads would be answering the phones, redirecting it to the appropriate place if they're calling the wrong police department, or taking down a report if it's a calls for service. It's approximately 10 to 15 calls per day from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. If it's 4 p.m. to 8 a.m., it's handled by dispatch. Monday is consistently the highest peak volume day due to weekend activity and reports being made of things that happened over the weekend. Filing and general administrative paperwork, transporting evidence to the crime lab in Ivyland, and paperwork to court, pre-event retrieval of items from the annex, such as cones, barriers, and equipment, and then vehicle-related tasks, such as taking the police vehicles to the car wash or for maintenance appointments. It's estimated to be between 10 and 16 hours per week for the entire police department that's expended on these tasks. So we had conversation at length about use of a part-time officer for these tasks versus a civilian, or sharing front office tasks, front office staff for this, and kind of what those different costs would look like. And I do feel like there's an opportunity here to not only potentially save money, but to improve, because one of the biggest complaints Chief Golden said that the police department gets is there's no one there in the office, or the phone line is not answered. And this could be an opportunity to have someone helping out for these tasks, but also a presence, a body in the office, so that people feel like there's someone there when they go in person.
So those tasks, how would that how would reallocating those tasks save money? Because right now the officers are doing it, right? So if the officers are no longer doing it, we're still paying their salary to do other things,
Well,
right?
if it's a full-time officer doing it. So it would be if we used lay
Part-time officer.
or someone who's not an officer. So it would either improve the efficiency of our workers to do more speed patrols and,
It would absolutely do that, yes.
or save money if we're using a non-civil service police officer, either part-time or
Right, but,
a lay person would save money over a full-timer doing it.
okay.
Save money, improve services would be a great outcome.
just to expand on what Dan said, I think it's the same idea, but the big picture we discussed when we were discussing the overall budget projection was that I think it was roughly 80% of the total budget is people. It's staff.
This is people, though.
I understand, but if we want to affect the trajectory of the cost over the next 5 years, or however long we're projecting, then the only way to bring that down is by having less people, because you can't really pay them less. So if we are finding efficiencies that allow us to have fewer people without having a negative effect on service,
Right.
that's good. But if we're finding efficiencies that are increasing service and not reducing the number of people, it's not going to produce the desired kink in the curve for projected future
Right.
cost.
Absolutely. Yep. All right. That's all I had, and I do want to leave a little time for public comment. Does everyone have something to work on before the next meeting?
I didn't know if,
You will.
okay,
Okay.
she will?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Mr. Dolan, public comment this evening.
Hi. First of all, thank you very much. I never saw a survey. How was it sent?
Through the borough's email distribution list.
Oh, okay. So,
If you haven't signed up, it's easy to do. You can ask Paula.
okay. I just wanted to, in the discussions and everything, I think one of the things that I'm most concerned about, obviously, like all the rest of the residents here, is response time. And one thing I'd just like to point out is that while it may not be as necessary for if LMT was to take over some or all of the responsibilities, other municipalities doing coverage here might in fact still need some kind of a satellite station. So I don't want to have that be ruled out and have the police department, allocated to some other entity. And then, of course, one of the things that was always in my mind was and I know that the pre-Kelly pre-Kelly control for Lower Makefield was very much against hiring on our officers and providing them the same tenured space or same tenured years. My question would be if they were to entertain taking over here, would they be adding officers or just shifting officers to their schedules per shift? So,
Absolutely.
other than that, thank you very much.
Thank you, Chuck.
Thank you.
Any other public comment this evening before we shift into our other meeting? Yes.
I just wanted to say that I think for the next round of emails, when you send the survey, try to make the link very obvious and clear, because it was kind of buried down below, and several people had told me that they saw the email but couldn't find the link, which was crazy to me, but I think next time, let's just make it so it's like less wordy and then a bigger link is all. And I don't know if you guys track open rates and stuff too, but if you're able to do that, you can see how many people shied away from the survey because it was how many opened it, started the survey and didn't finish, and then maybe you could make a simpler survey just so you can get a larger polling audience is all.
We had, so not too much of a drop rate out of the survey, but a lot of people didn't completely finish it,
Yeah.
which I allowed the last half to be optional, so the questions weren't required. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Thanks for the feedback. All right, folks, if there's nothing else, we'll adjourn this meeting. Thank you.